Pray. No, not the local church's Sunday morning service, but instead what the altar boys become when that morning service ends. Pray, often referred to as Prey 2017, to not be confused for the game of which it shares the same name for no other reasons but greed. The year is 2032, and JFK didn't fail the QuickTime event. Assume the role of the intelligent Morgan Yu, who wakes up and gets to enjoy a scenic helicopter ride to his brother's research center in order to take just a few tests. Tests which are practically child's play for my intellectual mind.
Do your best to hide in this room.
That is, until they ask me to read. And what's with this picture of mommy and daddy fighting on the screen? Thankfully, the examiner ends up preoccupied, so they'll reschedule my test. Isn't that right, fellas? What's with the gas?
Good morning, Morgan. Today is Monday, March 15th, 2032.
Oh. Oh no? Oh no, let me catch you up. The year is 2035, and it's been 3 years since Morgan joined the TranStar research team up in orbit aboard the Talos 1 space station. 3 years developing and researching Google Smart Glasses 2.0 and also a little something called neuromods. Now, if you have a particular aversion to anything occurring to your eyes, then you might want to consider averting them for this next bit. Is this worth it to learn French? Who knows? One minor downside is that removal results in the user's memory getting wiped back to the point before installation. And so the pieces begin to click together. Poor Morgan here has suffered more mental manipulation than the average Discord e-girl.
Kitten, you'd better not be talking with an AI recreation of yourself. You know that upsets me.
And yet, there remains a bigger problem than man-made dementia, which would be the Typhon, a hostile alien race that had initially been captured to be studied aboard Talos 1 and kept secret from most of the crew. The escape of said extremely hostile alien race is the cause of the near-dead silence on the station. Emphasis on silence. No, wait, that's not. The Typhon species covers a diverse range of life forms, and their size is usually a good indicator of how quickly you'll experience extraterrestrial execution. Tragically, these wiggling masses of Goth space spaghetti completely lack the neurons required to feel any sort of empathy. As an empath, I can feel that you want to kill me. This space-made threat is obviously going to cause complications. How these complications are confronted is where this game truly shines. Prey 2017 is an immersive sim. But what does that mean? Well, besides the funny number and being able to solve just about anything with a box or two, it means nearly everything can be approached from a bare minimum of 2 different ways. Found a locked door? Search for the code. Hack the lock. Use an off-brand Nerf crossbow to perfectly shoot the button or console to unlock it. Turn into a cup to slip through the crack. Wait 20 whole minutes cause an email reads that this operator goes through this door every 30 minutes on the dot only for it to not happen. But oh, silly me, it says here it's a science operator and this is an engineering operator. But the nearest sciencing operator is miles away, so it's clearly not that. In desperation, I seek solace online, and luck would have it there's a whole YouTube video right here. And here she goes, about to show the solution that I simply couldn't grasp.
You can come by the door and wait patiently.
Excuse me, what? I needed that. Oh, look, another engineering operator got dispensed. Hey, little buddy, where are you going? What? Confrontation with enemies is much the same. Well, it does boil down to the choice between combat and non-bat, stealth, as some weirdos might call it. They can branch off into a whole host of ways of dealing with encounters. But fortifying turrets, throwing heavy objects, chi-blasting foes, manipulating the minds of flesh or steel, and resurrecting the deceased to do battle won't be happening right away. Morgan here, fresh off the set of Groundhog Day, couldn't even hack his way out of a cardboard box. This is where neuromods become significant in-game. Find them strewn across the entire Talos 1 station and use them to grow and change as a person, and gain the ability to crush any and everything beneath your boots. The human attributes come easy enough, but the more exotic additions require one to play Pokemon Snap with the Google Smart Glasses enough times to unlock them. Now be careful, as projecting any amount of strange data into that smooth pink thing is bound to lead to a side effect or two. Find yourself running out of those sweet brain needles or any other resource? Simply seek out the most satisfying machine in existence. Insert assorted objects and questionable fleshy bits into one end, and pure unfiltered dopamine comes out the other. And some raw materials, which can be slotted into the futuristic Minecraft crafting table. You can tell it's from the future because it's got an extra column. Innovation at its finest. Now, what of the story? Well, to start, Morgan took the red pill and escaped the simulation with the assistance of a mysterious voice over the radio. It's revealed shortly after that this January fellow is actually an operator programmed by Morgan during the test. The goal of January, and therefore by proxy this Morgan, is to turn this station into the world's largest pipe bomb in hopes that it destroys the Typhon menace. A goal that Alex Yu attempts to prevent at every turn. When all else fails, Alex reveals that he and the slightly more sane Morgan had been developing a null-wave transmitter. The idea is that setting off this doohickey would lobotomize every single Typhon. No explosions required, and only a mild headache for everyone involved. So there it is. 2 main choices. Well, technically 3. An earlier operator built by Morgan that goes by the name of December tries to encourage self-preservation above all else. Though unless you've taken some more extreme actions, chances are you won't be seeing them around for long. Now, while those 2 choices might be the main focus, that doesn't mean there isn't more to do inside and around this massive space station. Read through random emails like an absolute creep. Break into private safes and steal their brain needles. Take a nice walk to clear your mind. Discover the wonders of farming. Put strange chemicals in the station's water supply. Swing down to the cafeteria for a bit of a pick-me-up from this guy, who I'm 25% sure isn't actually the real chef. But he says there's loot in the freezer if I fix the pipes, and that's a hell of a deal. Okay, locked me in the freezer, 40% at least, and there's a bloody cardboard box of mysterious meat with the chef's tracking bracelet. 65. For those with a sharp eye, you might have noticed there are, in fact, living, breathing humans still on the station. Some who might even play a larger part in the story, depending on if you help them. What is one to do with these humans? Well, you could fight alongside them in their attempts to withstand the unending pressure of the Typhon bearing down on them. Or, fun fact, humans have 2 states, breathing and not that. But remember, what you do to one, you must do to all. There's no going back now. Finish what you've started. Kill them all. Regardless of your place on the political alignment chart, a minor roadblock is eventually going to arise. The company's board of directors found out about this whole situation, and they don't exactly want this affecting stock prices, so they've decided on sending their secret, elite military operative alongside a swarm of military operators to eliminate all human life on the station. Now, facing swarms of these laser-wielding robots would be quite a problem, if not for this surplus of EMP grenades. Paired with the highest level of hacking quickly turns this into the latest season of BattleBots. After failing multiple times to accomplish literally anything and losing access to the station's systems, the aforementioned elite military operative decides his best course of action is to flush out Alex Yu. Shockingly, pun intended, this doesn't work either. Finally, face to face with our brother, he gives the blueprints for the thingamajig, leaving the final choice of the station's fate in our hands. But here comes the major roadblock. Turns out these weird, glowy golden fibers that the weavers have been weaving act as a dinner bell of sorts to tell something that its microwaved space cuisine is ready. And that something is this massive, monstrous typhon, dubbed the Apex, which wastes no time quickly consuming the station and summoning the space snakes. This is where the finale kicks in. Sort out an escape for the remaining survivors and yourself, assuming there's any of them left, and put the final plan into action. Blow the station to bits or perform baby's first lobotomy, the choice is yours. Then, the big reveal. You're not you, but you are a Typhon-human hybrid with you's memories. And if you didn't play like a complete psychopath, there's even one last choice to make. So, that's Prey 2017. What's that? What about Prey 2017's DLC Moon Crash? I hear you say? Well, I'm glad you asked. Talking about Moon Crash? Wait, what? That's not what you said at all. I'm always putting words in your mouth, and this addiction has been tearing this relationship apart. Prey 2017's Moon Crash is a DLC that takes the core elements that made the base game great, tosses in some neat new mechanics, threats, and a whole new map to explore, then wraps it all up in a nice little roguelike package. Take on the role of an elite hacker who goes by the spine-chilling name of Peter, working under the rival company of Transtar Industries, the Chasma Corporation, and sent up to a spy satellite that is currently orbiting Earth's moon. The reason? A mining facility owned by Transtar, which doubled as a research center after the completion of Talos 1. Like Talos 1, the Pythes facility suffered a Typhon outbreak at a near-identical time, and without a Chad Morgan U to save them, the facility was lost to the Typhon. But thankfully, an operator was intercepted by Chasma, containing the data of all the events that occurred down on the moon's surface, which Peter must now access and enter via his new Oculus 3 VR headset. That's right, it's another simulation, but at least this time we know that from the start. With the assistance of the handler Basilisk, you'll dive into the metaverse and complete an assortment of tasks for Chasma, and then they'll bring you back home to see your family again. Take control of 5 individuals, each having their own unique starting stats and skill trees to build into. Andreas Alekna, after constant inhumane testing, managed to fully master his Typhon abilities, but at the cost of having a frail body, making him the resident glass cannon space wizard. Playing the engineer is a lot like making an arts and crafts project, but with more lead. Summon a ballistic turret for home defense, repair assorted turrets and vital tech around the facility, and use just enough Typhon abilities to be a threat to anything with a circuit board. So what's the deal with all these moonquakes? Moon sharks? Obviously. The director's main ability is being a nepotism baby. Thankfully, Riley Yu, cousin of Alex Yu, has the brains to hold the position, alongside being skilled in mind and matter manipulation. Some of the tasks from Chasma include completing each character's story mission, like the director's story of activating the Mega Death Kill Towers that vaporize any Typhon caught in the blast radius, similar to the Typhon gates which won't open when any are detected nearby, both of which don't take kindly to you injecting one too many needles into space magic. Thankfully, the gate is easily bypassed by rubbing your socks on the carpet. The engineer's story is discovering the tragic end of her lover's body, who she accidentally gave a very minor concussion by dropping a massive chunk of moon rock on his head. At least she could finish his lovely statue. But what of the volunteer? Well, gaslighting and mental manipulation are back on the menu, baby. You love to see it. Look at that. Doesn't that look like your young son to you? The one you neglected and were absent from his life for years? Better get him his toy to make up for it that totally isn't a mimic before going to Earth. Next on the character roster is the security officer, a military man turned spaceman who doesn't take too kindly to space powers, relying purely on his guns and his guns. His story is alcoholing it up after receiving news that his son has perished, only for his team to get slaughtered by some rogue custodian revealed to be a Chasma spy. A short dose of neurotoxin and hunting down an antidote later leaves him with the choice of deciding the fate of the filthy rat. Now then, where's number 5? Well, there she is. That's right, that humble janitor is actually working under Chasma like our boy Peter, skilled in hacking and sneaking around like a rat, and an absolute killer with an energy blade. Her story will have her hunting down recording devices and destroying them after the jig is up, and planting a very special override key into a familiar operator. Who knows what that'll do? With that sorted, it's time to actually cover where this is all happening. To put it simply, the moon's haunted, therefore, so is this facility. A facility split into 3 different sections with a large moon crater acting as a hub of sorts between them. Crew quarters is simple enough without explanation. A place to eat, sleep, and score sick slam dunks. Moonworks is a machine workshop and what's left of the mining operations which supply a surplus of helium-3 to assorted Transtar locations, Talos 1's reactor included. And finally, Pythes Labs is where the space magic happens, and the numerous inhumane tests done on unwilling volunteers. Science rules. There's also a tram system that connects all these locations, but not a single 8-lane highway in sight. Truly a dystopian future. Just like Hit Book by George Orwell, 1980. Now, what of the roguelite elements? Well, each run of the simulation will have randomized loot distribution, enemy spawns, and hazards. This could be dust storms, entire locations made harder to traverse, or complete power outages that can only be restored at the crater's control center, all while the unstable simulation grows more corrupted, powering up enemies and spawning new ones with only the magic hourglasses to delay it. Additionally, actions within the simulation reward sim points to spend on the next run to give only the most essential of items. The security stations are a great way to find out the facility's ongoing issues and locate a functioning escape pod. The end goal being to escape with all 5 individuals in one run, which also means sharing loot between them. This is made easier with the mule operator. He's no Molly, but storing an entire inventory between characters is useful. As for the escape routes, there's the escape pod, which spawns in one of 3 pod bays and requires a navigation chip. The shuttle requires one to obtain multiple years of pilot training, or just beam it right into your head. Using the big space cannon that is the mass driver to launch yourself into orbit probably isn't the safest bet, but one can't be picky. There's the director-exclusive escape of beaming her brain into the data operator only to get microwaved by the Chasma override key, and finally the mimic portal, requiring both hacking and repair skills just to get it to function properly. With that, all tasks should be finished. However, things aren't all moonshine and rainbows. Worrying events have been happening outside the simulation, like issues with the pod and a low amount of oxygen. These fears only worsen after overhearing a message between Basilisk and Chasma executive Teddy, who views both Peter and Basilisk as expendable, later shutting off his pod once he's served his usefulness. Thankfully, with Basilisk's prior help, he can barely survive, crashing his deactivated pod down onto the moon's surface, nearby to a familiar moon base before accessing a shuttle, unknowingly bringing an unwanted passenger along for the ride. And that's Prey 2017, along with its one and only DLC. Hey, you there. No, not you, that weird disfigured person, right behind you. Good news! I've decided to get into money laundering and also made a Patreon. Or making a Patreon, because I haven't the slightest idea as to what to offer for supporter rewards. Please send help. Make suggestions down in the comments as to what you'd like to see. Okay, that's all. Sorry this video took so long, but then again, whenever they not. Anyways, I'll work on it. Sayonara.